Live from the Counterpunch Media Studios in Davison, Michigan, it's time for real lives, real families, real fitness. It's time for Derek Noel Fitness.
What is going on, everybody? We have an awesome episode 51 going on today. And I gotta say, this is probably one of my favorite conversations that I've had with someone. We got super real, talking about some very strong issues that are in those kinds of situations so that we can move further and become successful in whatever we are doing. Real quick, before I forget, if you could please give this video a like and a share. If you could specifically share this with either a nurse or a doctor that you know works shifts, maybe third shift or something like that, this video I can almost guarantee will give them some sort of insight of how they could become more successful when it comes to their nutrition journey. So, without further ado, here is my interview with Arron Gould of Unbreakable Health and Fitness.
I'm sitting here today with Mr. Arron Gould. He is the person behind Unbreakable Health and Fitness, which you can find on Facebook, among other places, which we will get into. Arron, thanks for coming on today.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, we tried to do this once already, and this is the second time, so here's hoping everything goes really well with this. But real quick, if you can give people who don't know who you are a little bit rundown of who you are and what you're all about, let's go for it.
Sure. So again, I'm Arron Gould. I live in Maine. I have a background in healthcare. I started out my career initially as a paramedic and became a registered nurse. I spent 20 years in healthcare. And I kind of had a really significant event happen to me in the middle of that time. I got really sick, which impacted my course of my life and my career throughout that time, and kind of on accident drove me towards health and fitness. And so now I find myself in the unique position of having a long healthcare background, but also having a really unique story to go along with that. And now being a personal trainer and a nutrition coach, I kind of meld all those worlds together and work with people that need help with weight loss, conditioning, and in a lot of cases have gone through some sort of a significant issue in their life, like be it a mental health thing like I dealt with, whether it's like refractory obesity, like they just have tried and can't lose the weight, or, you know, some of my clients come to me with injury and struggling to find their way back to health in and around the injury that they had, things like that. So I tend to work with people that are a little more complex. I'm not the guy you come to if you want to, you know, get on a podium at a race or something like that. It's not my forte. I have a history that and experience that allows me to like dig deep and get creative with problems and with people that have just struggled quite a bit trying to find their way. yeah, that's basically what I do. As you can see, I have a small hybrid business. I do work online. I have my own physical location in Auburn, Maine, where I see some people for education and do some training and corrective exercise here. So all in all, it's been fun. I really love what I do, and never thought I would see myself here. But life has a funny way of taking us places that we're not expecting.
That is the truth for sure. So you said that you have a background in the healthcare industry, and I know, especially working with a couple nurses and doctors myself, that a lot of times they are really good at taking care of other people, but are notoriously bad at taking care of themselves. A lot of times to their own detriment by a lot.
Yep.
What are some things that you notice can help nurses and doctors, especially ones who are on shift work, because shift work is the devil when it comes to trying to be successful with health and nutrition? What are some of the big things that you see nurses and doctors who are successful with it do versus people who are not so much down that path?
That's an interesting question. And for me, it's super personal because when I got sick, I had mentioned I got sick. When I got sick, I was working. Like my illness, I believe, was born out of my career in a lot of respects, because nurses, doctors, healthcare providers, they tend to focus on, as you said, other people more than they do themselves. All right, that's the first thing. Like, there's always the next patient to take care of. There's always the next form to fill out. There's always the next emergency to overcome, the fires to put out, the documentation to be made, the check boxes for the insurance companies. Like, all these things are floating around. And so the job stress is like way up here for those people. Not to mention, like, as you mentioned, shift work. And for me, I was not taking care of myself at all. I was spending all my time working, and when I wasn't at work, I was doing some sort of education, trying to learn how to be better at my job to take care of other people. And I never spent any time on me. And I wound up having an acute anxiety attack in the middle of my job one day out of the absolute blue. And from there, like, my life flushed down the toilet. Like, my brain like broke in half, and I went on a years-long journey of losing my career for a period of time, becoming hyper medicated, becoming super fearful, not able to even leave my house for a period of time. And over a period of years of work and medication, becoming ridiculously obese and deconditioned to the point where I got out of breath going to the mailbox. So the job is not friendly on bodies and minds. So to answer your question, the people that handle it the best are the people that feed themselves and take care of themselves first before they take care of their patients. And I learned that, like, truly the hard way. And it cost me 11 years of struggle and hardship, both mentally with getting my head rewired straight, which most people aren't fortunate enough to ever have that happen again. I am one of the lucky few, I think. But also to have gone completely to the opposite end of the health spectrum with weighing almost 300 pounds and being super overweight and trying to find my way back from that. And so when I did, and I had the perspective of that person that went through all of that, and have been able to process that through my jobs in my past and my experience, And now I work with several nurses inside of my business on their fitness and nutrition, watching what they go through. It's the same cycle perpetuated. So you go to work, these people go to work and they go with best intentions of taking care of others, and they get there and they get sucked into the vortex of stress that is a hospital or a doctor's office, and they're dealing with people in a lot of cases that are not at their best. Now, people typically aren't in the hospital because they're feeling like $1 million, right? They've got a problem, and that problem makes them irritable and upset and angry, and they take it out on the nurse, who is the face that they see all the time. And so the nurses and then the doctors and the other people that are working there are pushed on by their administration for productivity. They're pushed on by the patients who don't feel good. And they're pushed on by emergency scenarios that pop up and every other thing that you can imagine. So like, they're running up here. And when we run up here all the time with stress, our adrenals they tap out. Like, our cortisol levels and our stress hormones exist to help us manage stress, but chronic stress over a period of time, hours, days, weeks, months, years, that's unrelenting, eventually leads to a body that doesn't compensate. And so these people, you start to see them deteriorate around the edges. They turn to junk food because it's quick energy. And I say junk food meaning processed food full of a lot of sugar and no nutrient, like micronutrient stuff. Like, I don't truly believe that there's any bad or good food. There's simply food that helps your body recover and grow and be healthy. And then there's food that's just basically energy. And so these people turn to that food because it's quick, and they grab it, and it's massive calorie source really fast. And so they grab it on the fly and they shove it in their face, and their brain is like, oh, thank you. I need more, please more. Mental clarity. I need mental clarity. I'm so tired. I'm exhausted, especially the ones that are overnight, right? Like, they're working overnight, and they're often flip-flopping their sleeping schedules based on their work because they typically got families and want to have a life during the day on their days off. So they have a really terrible sleep cycle. So they turn to food that's high caloric, high sugar value, high glycemic sugar, and they tend to start eating a lot of it, and they eat it on the fly. They turn to caffeine because their adrenal glands tap out after a period of time. They're super fatigued. They need to have mental clarity, which they're not getting. And so they turn to caffeine, and 1 cup of coffee turns into 5 cups of coffee. It turns into a gallon of coffee every day. And now they're literally surviving because they're whipping their system constantly with caffeine. And like, the setup for failure is huge, like huge chronic stress, never ending, plus terrible eating habits, plus way too much stimulant, plus no self-care, plus messed up sleep equals imminent collapse, right? And it's gonna happen. It's just how, like, are you gonna gain a ton of weight? Are you gonna develop a medical problem? Are you going to, like me, like have your mind like completely implode and not be able to deal anymore at all? Like, what's it gonna be? So my nurses that I work with, we work on a lot of balance, and I spend a lot of time on their mindset, because these people at their core, and I'm one of them, so I know this like intimately, these people want to serve other people. That's why they went to nursing school. nobody went to nursing school or medical school because they wanted to make a lot of money. All right. Nobody. It just doesn't work that way. But along the way, they get sold a bill of goods. And in my opinion, are taught that in order to serve other people, it has to be all about everybody else. And if you're not giving everything, you're giving nothing. So to me, it's first, I have to help them develop a mindset of me first. Like, I'm filling my cup first. I'm taking care of me first, because until that happens, then nothing else happens. You know, like if they can't come to a conclusion that they have value and that they need to be at their best in order to have leftover to give away to other people, then nothing changes. And so the people that handle these jobs the best have developed a mentality and developed an awareness of, I need to take care of me first, and I'm non-negotiable, because if I'm not at my best, then nothing else is going to be great, right? And then from there, it's really about changing focus and thought process, you know, making sure you're eating enough. Nurses need mental clarity. Like, doctors need mental clarity. Of anybody on the planet that needs it, they need to have it, and they need to be able to sustain it. So eating a nutrient-dense diet with the right amount of macronutrients in the right places is super imperative. They've got to be eating correctly, because if the calories are not up and all they're eating is empty calories, then their mind is not going to be clear, and they're going to have brain fog. And I work really hard to help them understand the effect of caffeine and how it becomes a detriment in the long run. And I work to help them balance exercise. So for me, my approach is to help them first before we do anything. Whatever their goal is, it doesn't really matter. Like, whatever their goal is, whether it's weight loss or whatever, it first has to be about balance. Like, balance in your mind, proper mindset of, I'm taking care of me first, and then balancing their intake and their output and finding maintenance and working on increasing their activity, either through non-exercise activities like walking or just daily activity, and then through different exercise activities like whatever they like to do, you know, moving their body, biking, running, weightlifting, ideally a combination of some of those types of things, getting them to layer that in, and at the same time working on fixing their food quality and balancing their energy in and energy out. And when I start to see this happen, I start to see a lot of changes, because all of a sudden they're feeling conditioned. After a little period of time, they're starting to notice energy return. They're starting to notice physical strength, and they're starting to notice like clarity in their head that maybe hasn't been there before. And from there, we can start to work on like the logistical things of, you know, what's my shift like? And in each case, it's different, because every nurse and every doctor, their day runs completely different. But we work on continuing to eat. Like, I'm constantly after them to say, how is your eating? Are you spreading your food out? Because oftentimes they'll go and not eat anything, and then all at once, you know what I mean? They'll go their entire shifts and not even go to the bathroom sometimes. You know, 12 hours is a long time to not eat and not take a break. And it happens often. So I work with them to like have them set up like an emergency pack. I call it their emergency food ration or whatever. And I have them get something that's super portable, because most of them work with like computer on wheels, things like that, that goes around with them. And so I'll have them take something with them that they can either keep on their person, in their cart, or very close. And I'll have them fill it with like nutrient dense snacks that are reasonably high calorie, like nuts, protein, healthy protein bars, because there are healthy options. I have them get a blender bottle with the screw bottom containers, and I'll have them fill those containers with like a healthy protein powder, PB2, chia seeds, like whatever they like, and make like a power packed like protein and nutrient shake that all they have to do is dump in the bottle, add water, and go. They can drink it. So it's not, it's not perfect, it's not ideal, but their environment's not ideal. So it's working on balance outside of their job and feeding their system the good things that they need, like stress reduction and sleep, and balance in their activity and in their calories, and getting those things like in line, and then taking those things and porting them into their work environment so that when they go to work, their calories aren't tanking. Because I would see this a lot, like they'd be doing great and work, their calories would be here, and I'd watch their tracking, and they'd go to work and they'd be like, and when you talk to them, you're like, how did you feel? Man, I felt like crap. And when I got home, all I wanted to do was binge eat ice cream and brownies. And the answer to that is, well, the reason you wanted to binge eat is because your body was starving. And so this is what we're going to have to work on. And so it's changing the mindset behind how do we do things, and why do we do things, and then getting them to realize that they're the person that matters the most, and buy into that, so that they continue to be a thought process inside of their work shift. And when that happens, I start to see their calories like stay more even, and their macros over time get better and better while they're at work, because they figure out what they need, when they need it, and they figure out how to supplement their little work packs and when to do things. Like when they're charting at 3 a.m, what do they need? Like, oh, when I'm charting at 3 a.m, I'm exhausted. I don't want to drink caffeine at 3 a.m, because I need to be able to sleep in 5 hours. So I need to make sure that I have a snack with some protein and carbohydrate to maintain my energy through the rest of the shift. So really, that to me has been the most beneficial in helping people. And it's the thing that the most successful people that I see are inherently doing. They're working out, they're paying attention to their diet, and they're really feeding into their self on their days off. They've got hobbies, like there's a group of doctors. I go running at the trails at the state park down the road here, and I oftentimes see a group of doctors from the hospital out there post mountain biking. Like, so they're out there doing healthy things and enjoying their life on their days off, maintaining their health, staying up with a super like nutrient dense healthy diet, and maintaining their bodies. And you can really, there's massive difference between providers, and you can really see it in some of them when you're walking through the hospital. So I know that was a little bit of an obtuse answer to a simple question, but it's not a simple scenario. So I hope that kind of gives you an idea of my thoughts on that.
No, I think that is probably honestly one of the best answers you could give, because if you had a short answer, I think it would have only gone so far. But the fact that you were able to just absolutely lay out, I think, basically everything that is going on with shift work in general, especially with doctors and nurses, with the experience that you've had, plus that you've seen, I'm sure, a lot of your friends deal with and stuff like that. I feel like that just goes to show that a lot of thought and a lot of practice and a lot of patience has to go into making sure that you're at least kind of sort of getting it right a little bit when it comes to that. And I think that answer did a really good job of highlighting that and where people can start, because I know for a fact that there are going to be a few nurses and doctors that I know who watch this. And as much as I can tell them, hey, make sure, try and make sure you're getting sleep, which is another really hard thing to do, especially if you're working nights. Or hey, you need to make sure that you're eating there. I'm honestly not the best person, because I don't have that experience of knowing exactly what they're going through. Like, I have a general idea of it, but I haven't personally experienced it, and I don't know what's going through their heads when they're trying to just rush from patient to patient and stuff like that. And you do. So I feel like, honestly, that's going to be a super powerful message for a lot of people who are watching it. And real quick, I did also want to, real quick, because I know that we are running short on time, and I know both of us have busy days ahead of us. Real quick, you did mention getting quality sleep. What's like one or two quick tips you can give someone in that situation to make sure that they are able to get the sleep that they need?
So for shift work in general, but people that are doing third shift, nurses and doctors, the one thing that you're never, or maybe not never, but rarely going to do is convince them that that is something that they should give up. So you have to work within the bounds of where that person's at. And oftentimes they're working overnight 3 or 4 days in a row, sometimes up to 7 days and nights in a row. And then they're flip-flopping sleep during the day. And the minute they get off shift, they'll go home, they'll take a nap until noon, they'll force themselves up and try to force themselves back into a normal sleep pattern of overnight, because they want to have a life, right? So while you're never going to fix that, the things that you can do are, firstly, get regular exercise. Regular exercise helps a lot. Keep your calories up. Nurses and doctors, stress makes us not want to eat. It has that effect. And I know some people stress eat, but I think the majority of people that stress eat are bored. And nurses and doctors and healthcare workers are not bored. They're running their asses off, but they are, and they're super stressed. And so food takes a back seat. Lack of food equals poor sleep. So keeping a nutrient-dense diet that is balanced for your output of energy, and that you're consistently eating every day, is super huge. Like, too much of a deficit, like people that are cutting, they sleep like crap. So nurses and doctors are effectively cutting most days that they go on shift. So try to keep the calories up. Tone back the caffeine. Like, the caffeine's got like a ridiculously long half-life, and while you may not feel it after a few hours, it is still there whipping your system, and it completely affects your sleep. And especially the providers that are working overnight, if you're going home and you got to sleep during the day, and your sleep cycle is messed up to begin with, and you don't sleep quality during the day, the last thing you should be doing is consuming caffeine late in your shift. So minimize that, because if you're drinking caffeine at 3 or 4 in the morning, you're never going to go to sleep. And then from there, really, like, all the sleep hygiene that you can do to the best of your ability. Keep the room cool, blackout curtains for people that are trying to sleep during the day, earmuffs, avoid like screens if you can, and blue light up to a couple hours before you go to sleep. Minimize noise and distractions. Like, do everything that you can to make it quiet, cool, and dark so that you can lay down and get sleep, like, and have it be reasonable quality. So those would be like the true biggest like hitters that you can think about when you're trying to improve your sleep quality around shift work and things like that.
Awesome. Like I said, we are running tight on time, but real quick, where can people find you? Where can people get a hold of you if they would like to chat? Because I have a funny feeling there are going to be a couple people who watch this who will.
Sure.
So where can we find you?
I have a website, unbreakablehealthandfitness.com. You can find me there. I have Facebook. I have a business page, but you would be better off to reach out to me on my personal Facebook, which is Arron Gould. I have Instagram. My handle is @AarronRunsFar, all bled together. And I have a Facebook group, the Unbreakable Fit Life Tribe. So you can reach me on any of those platforms. Would love to have you in the group. And, you know, just reach out in any manner.
All right. Thanks for taking the time today, Arron. I really appreciate it. And have a nice rest of your day.
Thanks, man. I appreciate the time. You as well.
All right.
And there you have it. And there you have it. Another episode in the books. I really enjoyed that conversation that I had with Arron. Oh, it sounds like I was having a little bit of microphone issues. So another episode in the books, episode 51. Hopefully you found episode 51 with Arron Gould of Unbreakable Health and Fitness very insightful. I know that I did, and it definitely helps with my conversations that I get to have with some shift workers in general, but also nurses and doctors and nurse practitioners and all other people who fall under the umbrella of healthcare workers, so that I can make sure that I'm helping as many people as possible. Like he said, make sure you give Arron a follow. You can link him. You can find his link, I should say, actually in the comments. I tagged him, and he responded as well. So you can find his personal profile page right there if you'd like to add him. And I do actually recommend you join his Facebook group as well. He's been going live every day for the past few weeks talking about a different mindset hack. I know we touched on that a little bit in the video, but if you want, make sure you join his Facebook group to get a little bit more of that. He's planning on going for 90 days straight with that. Well, that's all I got for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you like this video, give it a like and a share. Maybe share it with a nurse or doctor friend that you have, or if you are a nurse or doctor, let me know in the comments what you thought of the conversation. I would love to get your feedback. Well, that's going to be it. Have a great night, everybody.